All right, today we're going to continue learning about the distributive property, only things are going to get a little bit more complicated as we add variables. Okay, so recall first from yesterday that yesterday we took a look at expanding things like this, where we took this 8 and we multiplied it, we distributed it, we expanded it, all those words mean the same thing, to everything in the brackets. Okay, and you'll recall that it equaled 8x squared. 8 times 2x is 16x, positive 16x. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Okay, so today the idea is simply, what if we add an x to this term in front here? Okay, same idea, we're still going to distribute the 8x times the x squared, the 8x times the 2x, and the 8x times the negative 3. Okay, but take a look. What happens here is when we have 8x times x squared, that means there is 1x, and here there is an x times an x. So overall, you end up with an 8 and an x to the 3, or cubed, an 8x to the 3. Okay, and similarly then, when you multiply 8x times 2x, 8x times 2x, you get 16x squared. There's 2 of the x's there, and then 8x times negative 3 is negative 24x. Okay, so we're going to practice this idea. Let's first look at what it means to multiply the monomials together. That's what I was illustrating up here, is this idea of multiplying monomials together. So if these are the sort of the instructions here, you would take a look at multiplying the coefficients together, and then you would multiply the variables together, which actually means that you end up adding the exponents together. So you end up adding the exponents. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so in this first example right here, we have a 2 times a 4, so that's going to give us an 8, of course. Okay, and then we have an x to the 3 times an x. So remember, x to the 3 means x times x times x times another x with this 4x. So we actually end up getting x to the 4. And what I mean by adding the exponents is we can take this 3 plus this imaginary 1, and 3 plus 1, of course, gives us 4. Okay, so that's the idea that we're going to need to use when we use the distributive property with variables. So let's try another one of those, just multiplying monomials together. So over here in this second one, first just multiply the coefficients. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Now let's look at what we have. Let's look at our x's first. Okay, we have 2 x's from the first term. We have 4 x's from the second term. So 2 plus 4, that's going to give us x to the 6. Notice I'm adding the exponents. Okay, then let's take a look at our y terms here. Okay, so in the first one we have this imaginary 1, and then we have a 5. So 1 plus 5 is going to also give us y to the 6. Okay, so we're going to use this idea, and hopefully you'll be able to see it when distributing. Okay, so here's some simple examples to start with, and hopefully from practice you will get the idea of this. Okay, just like yesterday, try and add your arrows in. So again, I'm multiplying 2x times 6x, and then 2x times 2. Okay, so first let's look at 2x times 6x. We're going to multiply the coefficients. That's going to give us 12. And then if we look at our x terms, we have an x to the 1, an x to the 1 here, times an x to the 1 there, which is going to give us, when we add 1 plus 1, we're going to get 2. Okay, and then our second term now, we're going to take our 2x times 2. We're going to multiply the coefficients together. 2 times 2 is positive 4. And there's only one x there, so it's just an x to the 1. Okay, a reminder from yesterday and from the day before, I can't simplify this any further. Hopefully you know why. They are not like terms, right? They are the same variable, but they have different exponents, so they are not like terms. Okay, let's try another one. Here we go. This one's a little bit different. We're going to take negative 5x times 7x, and then we're going to take negative 5x times negative 2. Sorry about that. Okay, and again, that's one of those things where if at the side of your page you really want to write this out, we have negative 5x times 7x, then we have negative 5x times negative 2. You are welcome to do that. It just complicates things if you try to write it within the question. So you would want to have a scrap piece of paper sitting down with you. Okay, so here, let's do the first one. We have negative 5x times 7x. Multiply the coefficients. We get negative 35. You see two x's, so it's x to the 2. It's as simple as that. Looking at the second one, we have negative 5x times negative 2. Multiply the coefficients. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive 10. And you see 1x, so it's x to the 1 there. Okay, and that is the answer for that one. This is just a little sidebar. This is the answer to the question. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and try C on your own. Okay, again, you can go ahead and write in the arrows and then pause the video and see if you can get that one line correctly. Okay, so the first term should be 15x to the 3. The second term should be negative 6x squared. And the last term is going to be a 3x. Hopefully you got that correct. Let's try another one together to make sure you got this idea. So we're going to take this x, it's just a 1x times x squared. We're going to take this x times 10x. We're going to take the x times negative 8. Okay, first term we have 1x times x squared. The coefficients are just 1, so it's just a 1. You can write it or not write it, but then it's an x. You see 3 of them to the 3. Then we have an x times a 10x is positive 10x squared. And then we have an x times a negative 8. You just put them together. It's negative 8x. Okay, so hopefully those ones make sense. Let's try one that's just a little bit harder, and let's see if you can figure out why this one is a little bit harder. Okay, so just like we did before, we've seen ones with 2 brackets before, right? We know to put our arrows in. We have the 5x times the x. We have the 5x times the negative 3. Let's read this properly. We have a negative 7x times 2x and a negative 7x times 1. Okay, so no different than what we were doing yesterday. We've just now added an x in front. So our first term is going to be 5x times x. That's going to give us 5x to the 2. Our second term, we have that 5x times negative 3. That's going to give us negative 15x. Moving on to the second bracket now, we have negative 7x times 2x. That's going to give us negative 14, right? Negative 14x squared. And last, we have a negative 7x times a 1 is just going to give us negative 7x. Okay, now, can you see what's different about this one? Notice now we have like terms. So we do need to collect those like terms, just like we've been doing. We have a 5x squared and a negative 14x squared. Those are like terms. I'm going to put them beside each other. And then we have a negative 15x and a negative 7x. So let's go ahead and write those beside each other. Remember, the sign in front belongs with it. We have 5x squared minus 14x squared. And then we have a negative 15x, negative 7x, or minus 7x. Okay, let's do those subtractions. Here we have 5 take away 14. Okay, feel free to use your calculator if you need help there. 5 minus 14 is negative 9 of those terms. They're x squareds. And then we read this one right. We have negative 15 minus 7. Again, use your calculator if you need to. Gives you negative 22 of those terms. They are x terms. Okay, and that would be our final answer, as now there are no like terms to collect. So we're going to practice this idea for the next couple of days, actually. This takes a little while to get used to this, get the hang of it, and of course requires practice. I'll see you tomorrow in class.